that you make, which on the one hand comes from this sacred space of your studio, and it's, it's filled with so much like of your own blood, sweat, and tears. It's infused with so much of your own passion that it has this great intrinsic value. So putting a price tag on that, all of this sudden feels dirty and cheapening, even if it comes at a high price. And sort of living between the sacred and the sellable is very like hard to do as an artist, and something that I don't I don't know if I would have experienced as much as if I had just dug in and actually tried to appeal. Like one of the other jobs that I got in college was doing t-shirt design for a clothing company. This was back during the time when Affliction and Ed Hardy were really having their day, and t-shirts were selling for like $100 a piece, and they were all bedazzled and bejeweled and everything. But I was actually connected to this clothing company from an art student in the program who was like doing their internship there, and he saw what I was doing, because at that point I was delving into calligraphy and flourishing and starting to integrate my realistic drawing with flourished calligraphic lines. And he looked at me, he goes, I think the guys at the clothing company would love to see your stuff. And so when I went into them, they like ate it up and like immediately contracted me for like, I think it was like 4 or 5 drawings right off the bat, saying like, this is a massive, this like Eagles are selling really right now like crazy. Do something with an eagle. Skulls, of course, were, they're so overdone. They're so in your face. And I didn't want to do a skull. So I was like, but that was like one of the assignments that they gave me. And so I was like,
Right.
so in that way, I was like, okay, this is what the market calls for. There is something that is attractive about the human skull, mainly for its shock value. And I never wanted to be a shock artist, because I'd much rather invoke a reaction than provoke one. But the skull, I was like, I'm going to put on my psychology hat and sort of figure out, why is it that the skull is so attractive to us? Like, why is that? And I was like, oh, it is the face of our mortality. Going back to like Hamlet and looking in the face of the skull. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to, in my calligraphic style, I'm going to compose a skull entirely made of script, beautiful flowing script. So you're sort of like dressing up this harsh image with the beauty and flourishing of legible letters, and but not just any script. I was going to do it based on all like, poetry, songs, scripture about death, and sort of man's reflection on their mortality set in the face of their mortality. And so, so even though it was like, it's a t-shirt design, it was going to be sold at Urban Outfitters and stuff. It was like, I still wanted to really exercise my skill as an artist and think through this on a deeper level. And that ended up being like a super popular t-shirt design that they absolutely ate up. So for me, that was like great real world experience for figuring out, what is actually going to sell? What can you bring to the market? And how does that market feedback, how does that fiscal feedback, as I call it, sort of inform the creative process? Because there's this beautiful exchange that happens between the artist and their viewer that a lot of artists miss out on.